Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Thanks for joining. During today's webinar, I'll be covering some of the key features of the accesso Siriusware Rentals module and how it can help you simplify and streamline your rental process. My name is Phil Schwartz, and I am the Sales Support Specialist here at accesso. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items so you know what to expect and how to participate in today's session. You may have already noticed that your voices have been muted. They will remain muted throughout the session. However, you will be able to type questions to our moderator throughout the webinar. At the end of the session, there will be a Q&A taken from your typed questions. All right, let's get started. At accesso, we believe technology has the power to redefine the guest experience. Everything we do starts with thinking about how your guests will be affected. I think this really rings true when it comes to our rentals module. For many of your guests, their experience at your resort will begin when buying a ticket or when they head to the rental shop to get their equipment. We have tools that make their experience going through the rental process smoother and, most importantly, less time-consuming so they can spend more time on the mountain. Before we get into the core content of the webinar, I think it's important to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about accesso's solutions, which have expanded a lot in the past year. Although we offer 6 solutions, we think about those solutions in 4 different product sets. The first is accesso Low Queue, which provides virtual queuing solutions to attractions around the globe. The second category is ticketing. In addition to our robust accesso Siriusware point-of-sale solutions, we've also got accesso Passport, our fully hosted and award-winning e-commerce platform, and accesso Showware, which is a fully hosted box office and online ticketing solution specifically designed for the live entertainment space. Our third category is distribution. Earlier this year, we acquired a company called Ingresso, which is essentially a global distribution system for venues. And finally, our newest product, the Experience Engine, also known as TE2, helps marketers utilize guest data to deliver more personalized interactions. Together, our products and services support some of the top attractions in the world in 9 different markets. We are constantly working to improve our technology so that you can improve your guests' experience and the way things operate in your venue. We are able to achieve this by reinvesting just under $18 million a year back into our products, an amount equal to many of our competitors' entire revenue. Our accesso Siriusware solution offers a wide variety of powerful features for your ski resort. Today, I'll be focusing on our rentals module. This suite of products offers a solution for rental shops that is comprehensive and highly configurable. Because rental shops vary widely in their layout and process, the entire system has been designed to be flexible enough to accommodate multiple styles and flows of operation. I will be covering how our rentals suite will improve your guests' experience, streamline operations, and help your resort to maximize revenue. Let's start by taking a look at the ways our rental module can benefit guests. According to the New York Times, Americans spend roughly 37 billion hours a year waiting in line, an average of 114 hours per person. When it comes to your resort, the time a guest or family spends in line is ultimately less time they have to be enjoying themselves on the hill or elsewhere around the resort. Of course, one of the ways to reduce long lines is to speed up the rental process. Our rentals module offers several ways to do this. Guests experience ease of use and convenience with our self-entry module. This module allows guests to enter their own information either by pre-registering at home or when signing in at the rental shop. This eliminates the need for paper rental forms to be filled out. In addition, guest information is saved so that when they return, they just log in and are on their way. One thing I really love about self-entry is that it can also be run on tablets. This gives you an opportunity to encourage your staff to greet customers directly, and it can also give guests something to do if a line does form. These strategies help customers to feel assured that their needs are being addressed and that your staff is doing what they can to get them out onto the mountain. Guest data is tied to specific rental items with recommended DIN settings and configurations that calculate automatically based on size of skis, boots, and ability level. As guests accept liability, it is stored in the system, which means less paperwork when they return to your resort in the future. This organizes your rental process. Rental flow is smooth, allowing guests to get on the hill faster. Guests can access equipment that is reserved and it will be ready for them upon their arrival. Also, switching or upgrading equipment is easy, which makes guests feel comfortable with the process. There are also many ways that our rentals module can accelerate and streamline your operations. We offer you the ability to automate what can otherwise be time-consuming and tedious manual tasks. Information from self-entry registrations is automatically transferred to your rental techs, speeding up the equipment assignment process. Eliminate long lines and paperwork with efficient transactions that get guests where they want to be quickly. Further, with our TechStation software, you can track equipment usage and guest information linked to the equipment. Keep an eye on inventory and equipment availability with real-time inventory tracking. Keep in mind, rentals can be used year-round on any equipment or gear you rent, including mountain bikes, zipline equipment, and more. Our rentals module makes it easier for you to manage your shop. Collect liability waivers digitally through our TechStation software or through direct integrations with third-party risk management solutions. We also make it easier to save on seasonal employee training time with our easy-to-use solution so you can turn your full attention to your guests. In addition, automating your rental shop allows you to deliver real-time results to management with comprehensive financial reporting available when you need it without impacting system performance. Lastly, with appropriate licensing, you can sell rental packages at any sales point on your property. Accesso Siriusware rentals can be set up to accommodate just about any rental shop flow. Pay up front scenarios are the most common, and here is an example of what the guest journey might look like. First, the guest can enter their information into our self-entry registration portal, either at home or on property. This is a website that links to your SQL Server. Self-entry is a way to collect information about the guest, like height, weight, ability level, and more, so that your cashiers are not entering data. This helps alleviate long lines, allows you to remove the pencil and paper rental forms, and erases the need for returning guests to fill out a paper form every time they rent equipment. Next, the guest would proceed to a cashier where they could purchase their tickets, rentals, lesson, and so on in one transaction. The system now creates a rental form based on the self-entry information and sends it to your ski rental tech stations. At the tech stations, your techs are ready for the guest. All they need to do is assign the equipment and perhaps gather a signature on liability forms once the guest is made aware of their DIN setting. All of this data is being transmitted to the SQL Server in real time at every step of the transaction, making reporting a breeze. I also want to note that with pay up front, we can also accommodate a flow where guests buy their rentals at a cashier as their first step. A guest would be sold an open contract at a point of sale without attaching a guest. A voucher, receipt, or piece of paper can be printed at the sales point and given to the guest. They would then proceed to a self-entry station, populate their info, and enter their rental form number given to them at the point of sale. Then they would get their equipment from a rental tech. There are two other popular rental shop flows: pay after checkout and pay upon return. Again, everything starts with self-entry or guest registration. Next, the guest heads to the tech station to pick up their equipment. After the guest receives their equipment, they head to a cashier before exiting the shop. The second scenario, pay upon return, allows guests to pay when they are finished renting equipment, even if it's days later. These flows do a great job at allowing you to accommodate guest needs without sending them back and forth to a cashier. Cross-selling and upselling can be an easy way to generate additional revenue. Pay after checkout and pay upon return in particular both present an opportunity for your rental techs to upsell the guest into a better option, like demo or performance skis. A pretty powerful statistic that Amazon shared with the business world is that they generate 35% of their revenue through cross-sells. For example, you can see their recommendations in many locations, such as customers who viewed this item also bought on the main product page. Or, once we are in the cart, we'll see more recommendations for items frequently bought with this jacket. And lastly, we'll see other things these shoppers may have searched for. In the context of rentals, offering guests items like helmet rentals, demo upgrades, or rental season passes can be great ways to maximize revenue. Let's take a look at the rentals module in action. So I'll start with my self-entry screen, and you'll notice that this is a website. This is an XML page that can be formatted to fit your needs. We can skin the pages with your logo and colors, and we also offer the ability to have multiple start pages. For example, if you have a French language page and an English language page and you want to offer both to your guests. I'll begin by clicking Start and entering a guest name. I'll use a returning guest name just to speed this up. If this was a new guest, I would enter my name and the system would search the database and prompt me to enter my information if it was not found. This would then create a guest record that is saved to your database for all future visits and purchases. I'll start by entering my guest name and hit next. And in this example, it looks like our guest has been here before. I'm prompted to validate that I am actually Bart Simpson. Verification could be birth date, zip code, or phone number. It's up to you which option you'd like to use. So I'll enter Bart's birthday and hit verify. And since I've been here before, all my information is already saved, making it very quick and easy. Guests really appreciate not having to fill out a paper rental form every time they visit the resort. If I were a new guest, I would be presented with this screen where I would enter my information. It's an operational decision for you what type of information you want to require. Items you see on this screen with an asterisk, I have determined to be required, but this is up to you. So I'll verify my information without any changes and click Continue. And now I will enter our more rental specific information like height, weight, shoe size, and skier ability. These can be user defined depending on what you need for your rental process. I can see here that my shoe size is not here, so I'll enter that as these are required items. and I'll hit continue. And lastly, I'm taken to an in-house written liability waiver. This is completely optional. You may have another form that you collect on site. If you do use this, a guest cannot continue without accepting. We also have an integration that works with self-entry with a third-party company called OneRisk. OneRisk can collect and track liability waiver acceptance and store waivers securely in a cloud-based environment. Guests are redirected to the OneRisk pages as the last step in their registration process. Once I'm ready to accept, I just click the acceptance button and hit continue and complete registration, and we're all set. In this scenario, Bart would now continue on to a cashier station to buy a rental package. We'll pretend I'm a beginner buying a one-day basic rental package. And I have this item set up with optional upsell modifiers. Our guest could add a helmet, upgrade to demo equipment, or add insurance. I'll move forward without any of these in this example. Next, we will assign the guest to this package using their self-entry registration. I've got an action button here at the bottom, and that will allow me to select the correct guest to attach to this package. I'll click our guest over to the correct package, and we're good to go. If this were a family who had all come through our self-entry station, I could individually attach each family member to the correct rental package here. I'll complete my purchase with a cash sale. And I'm all set to send the information from this sale to a text station. So here's my home screen on a text station. It is possible to print a barcoded receipt from either a point of sale or a self-entry station, which could then be scanned by your rental techs to pull up their rental form. If you don't wish to do that, your techs can also look up the most recently submitted forms or search for forms using name, phone number, etc. We make that very easy for your techs. You'll notice the search fields for finding rental forms here on the home page. And with TechStation, you can also have multiple shops you're assigning rentals from. For example, if your bikes come from the bike shop and snowboards come from the snowboard center, each TechStation can be designated to work with a specific shop or all shops. I'll go with our most recent forms, and on this screen, you'll see forms that are ready to be rented with our guest on top, Bart Simpson here. These forms are all at various statuses with different dates. This is in chronological order, and you can see whether a form is closed or still active on this screen. I'll click into Bart's form, and once we're there, you'll see all of his basic guest information on the left and the pertinent information for rental gear here on the right. And we can change this information if there's any need, and this is what is used to calculate DIN settings. At this point, the tech would get the barcoded equipment to enter or scan out at this station. I will be manually entering barcode numbers, but your techs would likely just be scanning gear out to Bart. We are capable of generating the equipment barcodes in our system. So right now we're ready to scan gear out to Bart, and I will enter boot number 68. And we can see here that boot 68, our Technica size 8 boot, has been scanned out to Bart, and we can see a timestamp here. And now we're ready to scan a ski out. So I'll enter ski number 3. So now I have a boot and ski, and our DIN has been calculated, which you can see here. At this point, I could have the guests sign for their gear on a digital signature pad connected directly to the text station. With that feature, The signature would appear on the screen here. We then encrypt that signature and store it in the database. At this point, the guest is ready to get on the hill. They've paid, they've gotten their gear, and if we tried to assign any other equipment to this contract, like a snowboard, another pair of boots, or a different level of equipment, we would get an error message. So the system can block your techs from giving them the wrong type of equipment, like demos or incorrect quantities of items. From TechStation, we can also print a variety of graphic layouts using what we call big forms or small forms. This could be a sticker or tag that populates the appropriate information, or a big form, which could be a paper form that you have guests sign to acknowledge liability. Both of these are custom layouts you can design that can show the DIN, height, weight, any specific gear they rented, etc. You can also put a spot for them to sign at the bottom and a barcode for your operators to scan at a tech station or point of sale. I'd like to quickly discuss some other functions you can use with the TechStation software. If I click on an old active form, I'll get a warning that this guest has had their equipment out since May of last year and the guest is overdue. If you'd like, we have the ability to print an overdue receipt to be brought to your cashiers for the guest to pay the difference of what they paid and how long overdue they were. Another feature I love about our tech stations is the ability to turn on what we call return mode. At the end of the day, you can turn all of your tech stations into return stations as guests start bringing equipment back in hordes. This can also be done on mobile units, so techs are not tethered to anything. We also have storage mode, which is handy for multi-day rentals. If you have space for storage of gear that guests are renting for multiple days, you can mark the gear into storage to make sure that when the guests check back in the next day, their same equipment is ready for them. This can also be used for advanced registration if you know what gear you'll be assigning certain guests. It's also possible to manage your inventory from TechStation. You can put gear into maintenance, mark it as lost, or mark it as stolen. You can also set up maintenance rules so that gear goes to maintenance after a certain number of rentals. Our goal with all of this is to make it easier for you to track your equipment and hopefully faster for your guests as things are more organized. I'd like to hop back into my PowerPoint quickly as I wanted to share some client feedback we've gotten. We've successfully implemented our rentals module in over 50 locations, helping many resorts of all shapes and sizes improve their processes. Crystal Staggs, a longtime administrator of our system at Crested Butte, said, "The accesso Siriusware Solution has allowed us to integrate our tickets, rentals, and ski school into one simplified system. The ability to package all of our products together and sell so many different things in one place helps us maximize revenue and create a truly seamless experience for our guests." So this is great feedback coming from a ski resort that sees very high volume. This concludes our webinar, and we encourage you to contact us if you'd like more information on our rental software, or if you'd like to take a deeper dive with me to find out how it would work at your resort. At this time, I'd like to take questions that were submitted during the presentation. Katie, do we have any questions?
Thank you, Phil. Yes, we do have several questions that have been submitted. I'll start with this one. What would be the recommended process to set up self-entry or guest registration? Is this on-site or online typically?
So it is possible to have both public-facing self-entry pages that guests can reach from your website, as well as a set of pages on site. And in my opinion, the more you can drive people to getting their information entered before they're on site, the better, as this makes things easier for both the guest and your operations. As far as setting up self-entry on site, typically these stations can go wherever guests are currently filling out paper forms, and it does often depend on space and how your rental shop is set up, but if space is an issue, tablets are also a great option.
Great. Our next question is, can the solution set up maintenance schedules for equipment?
Yes, so it is possible to set up schedules, and you can do it by gear type. So for example, every 15 times a pair of skis is rented, it won't be allowed to go back out until it has gone through a tune-up or maintenance. And you can set different schedules for different types of gear. So if your helmets don't need the same kind of maintenance that your skis do, that's all something you can set up.
Okay, perfect. Our next question is, what are the options for getting a signature for liability waivers?
So there are several options. You can use a digital signature pad that's connected to your tech stations. You can also use internal liability acceptance, and you can utilize our integration with OneRisk. And you can also print paper forms that pull your guest information if you do want to keep physical forms on site.
Great. Our next question also has to do with OneRisk. Is OneRisk integrated with the self-entry forms?
It is. Our integration with OneRisk currently works with self-entry, e-commerce, and our sales application.
Perfect. All right, we do have a couple more that have come in. The next one is about the options for verifying guests in self-entry. Could you talk a little bit about what some of those options would be?
Yeah, so currently you can use their birth date, their phone number, or their zip code. I believe those are the three, so I'm not sure if whoever asked the question has a different idea in mind, but I'd be happy to follow up with them and talk about those options in more detail.
Great. The next question we have is it possible to edit the name and address directly in the tech station?
It is, yes.
Great, nice and easy. And then the next question we have, if we have time, Phil, would you be able to hop back into the system and demonstrate a refund? Is that something that only takes a couple minutes, or would that be more suited to a one-on-one kind of demo?
I can, let's see. So I'm not sure if we're looking to just refund a basic package, but I'm assuming so. So we could pull up Bart's specific rental, or it is just kind of as simple as returning a rental package here. And then it's going to want us to set the guest. So we can attach Bart to that here, and then we're good to return that.
Perfect, and that was what the person was looking for. They did clarify, so.
Great.
Okay, and then there was one last question that came in. Do you happen to know if, or rather how you stop minors for signing, how you stop minors signing waivers for themselves? Is that more of an operational kind of question?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have a great answer for that off the top of my head, but I'm definitely happy to kind of discuss that with some of the rentals implementers and see if we have good ideas for best practices on that.
Okay, great. Well, that was our last question. So thank you everyone for submitting your questions, and thank you for attending our rentals webinar, Simplify and Streamline Your Rentals with accesso. If we didn't have a chance to address your question, as Phil mentioned, we will follow up with you individually. And if there are any other questions that you can think of, or if you would like to learn more about our rentals module, please contact us at sales@accesso.com. You will also receive a follow-up email within the next day or so with a link to view a recording of today's webinar for your reference. On behalf of Accesso and Phil, thank you so much for joining us today and enjoy the rest of your day.